humanity bounce between food and sex. I want to talk about the food part of it today. If you consider yourself as a seed before you were born, and if you look at the process of any seed growing up, because we don't tend to see ourselves as something with a blueprint, but we can easily look at trees and say, yeah, this seed has this blueprint. Nothing else will come out of it. If you plant a banana tree, you expect a banana. You don't expect an apple from that tree. Now, if you see yourself as that seed with a blueprint, you will realize that this seed, the moment is born, because the seed can last for millions of years. Like you could easily find a seed from 1 million years ago and you plant it, it will grow. And that can be with us as well. Let's not get too conceptual about it, but let's say when your seed, your particular seed with the blueprint of human being, goes through that process of germination, which in our case is from your father's sperm, the blueprint gets to your mother's womb. There, the whole germination process happens. And when your birth actually happens, now the seed needs to grow, because now the seed cannot last 1 million years. Now the process has been done over this seed to grow. Now you come to this world. What do you need the most to survive? It's some sort of nourishment. For plants, of course, we know what's the nourishment. At least we hope we know. What do we need? Food. Most definitely food. But because we are human beings, we are not simply a tree, or we are more closer to an animal. We have one big difference with trees or animals. The moment we are born, we are still very vulnerable. If you leave the baby alone, the baby will die. It can't survive without food plus consciousness that we human beings share. And that we call, let's say, food for soul. Without that, you will not survive. But most definitely, the physical food that your reality needs to keep this body growing. You will probably create some sort of psychological issues when the food for soul is not available. And when the food for body is not available, you will create some bodily desires. And one of them is manifesting in obsession with food. Because food becomes your first barrier into this world. Whatever you've been going through in your childhood, your coping mechanism activated itself based on food. It might also be based on so many other things, but mainly it's based on food. Which most people in this world struggle with. This whole concept of food. What is food? What do we eat? Really? Can you tell me what do we eat? Like, what are we supposed to eat? You don't know. You just eat whatever you've been eating or you've been taught to eat, right? Now, these days, there are so many immigrants in the world. You become familiar with other parts of the world food. So now the variety changes, the taste changes. Now you really don't know what to eat. Am I a meat eater? Am I a vegetarian? What this body is supposed to eat, really? Like, if you dig deep, you will realize you can be carnivore, you can be omnivore, you can be whatever, or right? Because your body provide this possibility for you to be from raw vegan to, you name it, cannibalism, right? Let's say that's the max meat eating cannibalism. Then you go eat another human, which that's pretty rare. But we had this, we still have. In a very small amount perhaps, we are not aware, but I would not really put human stupidity so far outreach that I cannot not go toward cannibalism. There is all buffet of foods available when you grow up, when you become an adult. Now everything is available. Look at your childhood. Everything was just always given to you by some moderation. Because you're a child, you should not eat lots of sugar, right? And that's just how we treat our children. You should not eat too much sugar. Then don't fucking produce too much sugar. Like, how would a child has to supposed to understand that there is a food that is so rewarding, there is a food that is so good, and you don't give it to me? How this child has to respond when becomes 20-year-old? Well, I would say the most natural way it becomes that this child is addicted to sugar. And so many other type of, let's say, junk food, we call it these days, right? Because the junk food is the best food. It tastes awesome. Why would you produce it if it's junk food? When you produce it, then it's not junk food. You can't call it junk food. If it's junk, why humanity is producing it? Then it's not junk. It's profitable. Ah. Now, you are hooked on this whole junk food, soda, candies, The moment you feel sad, you want sugar because it becomes a coping mechanism. The moment you feel vulnerable, you want sugar. The moment you're stressed, you want sugar. The moment you come back from work, you want sugar. Because if you don't get it, how would you cope with whatever is going on in your life? And most people are struggling with these things. They just don't talk about it. Most people, they're addicted to food and they can't really talk about it because what is it to talk about? Like, I really like to stress eat. Yeah, dude, everyone loves that. Like, what's what's new about it? We all stress eat. We all just always wants to nibble on something because that just feels good. And biology tell you it feels good. Like the moment you chew something, your brain feels safe because you wouldn't be chewing something when you are running away from a tiger, would you? Like imagine yourself biting in a sandwich and the tiger is just chasing you. That would be very stupid of you, no? Now you want food. You need to accept this first. You want food. And not only any food. You want rewarding food. You don't satisfy with a bowl of salad. That's just boring. Now you put up weight, right? Because all the food that you like, it has consequences. Now you gain weight, now you create more trouble because you're not supposed to gain weight. Inside and outside. Inside, your body feels bad. Outside, your mind feels bad. And mostly, you're struggling with the outside part of it. You're fine with getting fat, right? You're fine with gaining weight. And now you're not fine with the image of it. Because in your head, you understood that I don't care. Even if I die, at least I die doing what I love, eating. But how can I filter this outside world? How can I filter people not looking at me as some sort of freak? Then even becomes more extreme. You want to not eat at all, right? Because human brain is a big mystery. Always loves to go from one extreme to another extreme. It doesn't want to stay in the middle because middle is goddamn hard. Put me two sides of extreme. I can handle it. You want me to eat as much as possible to pass out? Yes, I will do it. And then you feel bad. Now you want me to fast for 21 days? Yes, I will do it. You never really want to stay in the balance. You never say, okay, I will eat in balance. It's not possible for your brain. There's no, that's just worse than any torture. There is no rewiring happening in that process for you because you know that at some point you will fall again. At some point you will end up yourself eating again and you feel double bad for it, and then you do the same process, triple bad for it, and then now it's been 100 times that you try to quit eating something but you fail, and you hate your gut for it, right? You never blame anything else. You're like, oh, what's wrong with me? There is nothing wrong with you. There's nothing, absolutely nothing wrong with your psychology and your body that to want to eat rewarding food. If you understand this, you will understand that the problem is not within you. The problem is not here. The problem is somewhere else. And you keep at looking at yourself, blaming yourself continuously for something that is not even there at the first place. So, at first, this food struggle comes with feeling bad for whatever you eat. You are aware of it, but you can't really do better in your own head, let's say. You are aware that you eat so much junk food, you eat so much bad food that it's not good for your body, but you cannot help it, let's say. You're aware of that. That's the first step. This whole problem, that's the first step of your awakening. Very simple, short awakening in a very low level of human consciousness, like at the root level, like when you are born, you need food. Because after a certain while, then you can manage, right? After a certain while, you can even transform oxygen to food to some extent. You will survive, like a 20-year-old easily can survive for another 20 by having so little food, like so little, like perhaps one peanut a day, and then you will go on living. That's so many people do that in India, for example, or so many people did this in the history. You only give that much energy and you become so efficient with the energy consumption that one peanut will continue this consciousness of the body. But when that person that can lives on a peanut right now was born, could not survive if there was no food from another source, from the outside source. So this growing up process has to happen with the food, with the nourishment. Now, you are at your adult life, you come to this understanding that what is going on? Like, why are we just spending so much money for food? Like, why I should just work all my life for something so basic? This is in your subconscious, if you are not aware of it. But if you're aware of it, then perhaps you have been thinking about it more. But what is this food? Like, first you question why is it so expensive, right? After you are an adult, you're like, damn, the only problem I need to solve to survive is one thing, and that's food, and I am just incapable of solving it because it's so expensive. then I have to work all my life to provide food for myself. Now you have to ration your salary to buy food, right? And most probably you always go for that one that is more affordable, right? And or if it's off, then you go for that one. Which this, in my opinion, is the worst thing that you can do. You should always go for the food that your body needs, not for the food that you can afford, right? The first thing is stop rationing your salary for food and go for the best one. Always go for the best one. Whichever in your head is the best food, you have to always go for the best one. At least when you cook food for yourself. Yeah, I'm not talking about 3-star Michelin restaurant. But if you can go there, also go there. Because at the end of this whole process of having the best food, you will reach to a point that you will realize now what to eat matters, not how much I have to eat. Because if you're a poor person and you want to go for the best food, you can't go for the 3-star Michelin restaurant, right? Then you have to go for perhaps a great bottle of olive oil. Because if you consume olive oil, you should consume the best. You should never settle for the cheap. It's better not to consume it. If you want to settle for the cheap, it's better not to consume it. You should always go for the top-notch quality when it comes to food. Because if you do that by and by, you will never buy something that is not good for you. If you do this process, you will manifest your body at its strengths, not at its survival mode. Because when you ration your money for food, you're going on survival. But if you don't care about money and you go for food, you go for growing up. Because you will soon realize that it's not possible to eat so good so often. Then you will change your lifestyle. And in that process of lifestyle changing, you will learn a lot about yourself. Because you are thinking about the food part of your body. This is the most important, significant part of your body. The root. Without root, you will not grow. And most people have a very weak root because we talked about it, about food. Your nourishment is never enough for your root to become strong. Your nourishment is always based on certain factors. Rationing food, how much to eat sugar, how much to eat fat. And then During this lifestyle change, during this eating well process, you will realize something very profound. You will realize something that you never ever thought about it. Even though it might sound so simple right now when I say it, you were never hungry in your life. I repeat, you don't know what it feels to be hungry. 99% of humanity have zero idea what it feels like to be hungry. And if in your head thinking about, yeah, I know what's hungry. I've been there. They all call me hangry person because I get very angry when I'm hungry. And I would like to tell you that's not hunger. That's cravings. You were always living in the craving zone. You were never living in eating zone. Even the biggest meal that you had in your life, it was just a simple craving. Hunger happens after 3 days of not eating. I should fall. But 3 days of not eating anything. That's where hunger starts. And if you once experience that, this is not for this video. That's a totally different topic now. The fasting part and experiencing that process of hunger. Let's not talk about it. Right? By and by, when you start eating well, you will realize that you're constantly craving for things. Constantly want to nibble. You want to chew your jaw. Because that feels good. Without a doubt, it feels good to eat something. Then slowly you become a little bit more spiritual because this practice will help you come a little bit higher in this level of consciousness, and you become more aware of your reality, and the more you become aware of the reality, the more you become spiritual. And these are all figure of speech. I'm not talking about literal spirits. I'm talking about the lifestyle, the process of being religious, the process of going beyond the reality of things and think a little bit out of the box. And when you think out of the box, by and by, you ask yourself, is this body even relevant? You will ask yourself that, is this body that I am feeding every day even is going to do much in this out of the box process? Because if I'm not this flesh and I am everything beyond, if I am all together, well, this is not so significant. Which here the fasting process happens. Not for everyone. This is very specific to certain group of people that they reach to this spiritual awakening through this door. There are millions of ways. this particular fasting point is that so many sages during the history did this process, neglecting the body and going completely out of the box, which it helped them. It works, but it comes with lots of suffering and agony, which I would say it's not worth it. I tried to some extent. I would say if I became a spiritually awakened, that wasn't the main entrance for me. There was other things. But for some people, this cleansing process happens. And when it happens, it comes as an idea of let's fast. I don't want food anymore. Let's go to the other extreme. I've been eating all my life. Let's just not eat anymore. What happens to this body? If you're one of those people, I'm happy for you. I'm happy for you that you think about what you eat. It doesn't matter what you eat. I'm happy for you that you think about what you eat. Because what you eat doesn't matter. Everything becomes significant when you think about what you eat. One suggestion I have for you is that don't stop eating. Don't change your diet. Change the way you eat. Meditate on whatever you eat. Do not multitask when you eat. Eat when you're hungry. But if you don't eat when you're hungry, it's okay. Meditate on it. Watch it. Observe it. See what's happening there. Do not scroll your phone and eat at the same time. Do not watch TV and eat at the same time. Do not talk and eat at the same time. If you really want to observe what's really happening, you need to watch what you're eating. And I promise you, if you do this right, there is no way that you end up. There's no way that you are not end up eating well. That became so complicated. But I know what. Ah, I know you know what I'm talking about. English, man, English. Yeah, that's the biggest problem. This multitasking is honestly ruining humanity. And especially when it comes to basic things, we tend to multitask a lot because we already know that automatically our brain knows what to do. But the funny part is that our brain can't even multitask. It's just like we always thought that we can multitask, but the reality is different. We can't multitask. We can only change from one task to another task so fast that it feels like we are multitasking, but we are not actually doing that. We are doing those two tasks a little bit weaker than we could do when we do one task at a time. Because now we have to focus on two things. And then both of them, they will lose their meaning, because you cannot multitask again. You cannot be on this one and on this one at the same time and say I'm having this the same experience together. You have to sometimes give this one a favor and the other time give the other one a favor. So you have to always be in the zone of both of them, so you don't get to experience any of them. But it helps you to focus. It helps you to focus because it keeps you in the moment, but you don't get anything out of it. That's why often it's so easy to listen to music and work, because it helps you focus. So, you're going to meditate on what you're going to eat. Watch it, observe it, touch it, smell it. Become intimate with your food. If you become intimate with your food, soon you will realize that you don't want to be intimate with Coca-Cola. I promise you that. If you become intimate with your food, soon you will realize that you want to eat your food perhaps with your hands, not the spoon, not the forks, not the knife. Again, that's something that we are just so bad at it when it comes to eating food, right? The civilized world. Like, we don't even touch the food. That I cannot even fathom that there are people out there. I can fathom actually, but that they eat their food with knife and forks. And don't get me wrong, I do that too, sometimes. And I'm not saying that you should always eat with your hand, but there are people that they never done it. Like, how can you never touched your food and try to eat it? Why? Because it's ugly, dirty, or what? What is it? You don't like yourself when you do that? Because I know that we can wash our hands, and I know that that's the most beautiful thing that any human being can do, just putting something in your mouth with your fingers, because we have these fingers for that. We have these fingers to pick fruits and food. Now you're too civilized that you cannot touch your food. Is that what's going on? Become intimate with your food. This is the first stage. This is the first stage of growth. Growing up. Becoming intimate with your food. The nourishment. What makes that root strong. Until you get to the sex part, then you're fucked. But that's fine. Let's deal with the food first. Right? Until then, you take care of yourself. Bye.